we'll be discussing some techniques and newer features for managing your resource bookings in OpenAir. We'll talk briefly about the difference between bookings and task assignments, some useful tips and features for entering and maintaining your bookings, as well as some ways in which you can view and share resource management data to provide insight into your utilization and project staffing. Task assignments are spread across the duration for all assigned resources, so they don't take into account specific scheduling requirements. Bookings offer more granularity and can more accurately reflect the real schedule that your resources will follow during the engagement. Another way to think about that is the task assignment just plugs that person in and grants them access to the project from beginning to end. Whereas the booking can take into account things like starts and stops. Maybe you want to take a break for holidays. Maybe the client has some dependent tasks that need to be completed during another particular task. For those reasons, we'll be focusing on the bookings today. I'll be showing you some of the techniques and features that our clients have found useful. Some have been around a while, some are newer, but in general, we find that these are not all universally used, so they might be new to you. Okay, this form should be familiar to anyone who's created bookings in OpenAir. However, one thing I've learned over the years is that even people who create bookings and open the booking form regularly often overlook the repeat booking feature. You can see that down at the bottom right-hand side of our screenshot. That's really a shame because I find it to be a great tool for creating a large number of bookings quickly. In fact, you can create up to 104 copies of a booking spread across the defined timeline. To use repeat bookings, you'll need to start with the completed booking form. These repeated bookings will retain the resource, project, and hours or percentage data from the original booking that you create. Some of the tips we'll be talking about next will address how to adjust these repeated bookings as needed, to change the resource, adjust the hours, or change the start and end dates. Some of the areas you're going to need to pay particular attention to would be the frequency or the time period that you're using. You can select weekly, daily, monthly, etc. Then there's the repeat every drop-down. What this does is this allows you to create your bookings concurrently or to skip time periods. And then finally, you're going to select the duration. You can select a set number of occurrences, or you can set a fixed end date for your bookings. Okay, now let's talk about the advanced booking worksheet. This feature is new as of the October 2016 release, and we absolutely love it. In fact, we almost universally recommend it to our clients. It has many, many features that are missing from the classic or dynamic worksheet feature, and quite honestly, it's a little less buggy than either one of those options. Some of the really cool features that it offers is a more visually appealing and feature-rich UI. There's color coding for your utilization, helps you identify your consolidated bookings, see whether a booking has notes, etc. You can edit the booking from within the worksheet. There's inline editing, and you can copy bookings. And just in case you use job code at the booking level rather than setting it at the task level or elsewhere, you can now require job code within the worksheet. Previously, when using the worksheet, that was not available to you, but now it is. There's a lot of filtering options, which is great. And should you need to, for any reason, you can now create up to 2,000 bookings at once. Okay, we've got some screenshots here taken directly from the advanced worksheet. you're going to immediately notice that it looks significantly different than the dynamic or classic worksheet views. The first thing I want to highlight is what OpenAir refers to as the contextual menu. This is the section in our first screenshot in the left-hand column where you see these 3 dots. If you click on that contextual menu, it's going to allow you to create copies of the existing booking in that row or add a blank row to create additional bookings. Next, let's look at some of the color coding options. You can see that you can easily identify consolidated bookings from within the particular booking time period cell. In this case, we see a number 80 and a number 160 for a week. That's quite the number of hours for one particular booking. But that golden triangle there highlights us that there are multiple bookings in that time period. Now, consolidated bookings, again, it means that there are multiple bookings occupying the same time period for the same project and resource. Sometimes that's by design, such as if your worksheet is showing you monthly increments and you have weekly bookings. That makes sense. However, we can see here in our screenshot, we have 5 different bookings spread across 2 weeks. That's going to probably be a sign that there's an error. Somebody's been overbooked. You can easily change the hours in this particular period by clicking into the cell, typing in the corrected amount of hours, and saving. Okay, sticking with the advanced worksheet, let's look at the settings. Another thing that makes this feature useful is the ability to tailor the output that you see on your screen. You have a lot of filtering options to isolate specific projects, resources, departments, etc. I mean, considering you can now add up to 2,000 bookings at once, you're going to need all the help you can get to tailor the data that you're seeing in that screen. You can also customize the color coding on the worksheet color key section. This is the color that you can see on the workbook or the worksheet that's going to tell you whether someone is available or booked for a particular period of time. Let's talk about the booking planner. Now, the booking planner is not nearly as new as our advanced worksheet. However, you may not use it, and a lot of people don't. Quite honestly, when it was first released in May 2014, it was very limited. In fact, I believe that we actually recommended to most of our clients that they don't use it. However, and this is a big however, in virtually every release that OpenAir has put out since May 2014, there has been some sort of enhancement to the booking planner. It's now a lot more useful, and I definitely recommend it to my clients. Some of these features include inline creation, deletion, and editing of bookings, the ability to lock down columns so you can more easily navigate through the planner, the ability to create, edit, or duplicate bookings from a contextual menu. Sounds familiar. We just talked about the contextual menu that was in the advanced worksheet, and bulk changes. These are really cool, and we'll definitely go into more detail in just a moment. Now, there are multiple ways to create bookings from within the planner. I'm going to highlight a couple. First, if you click in the planner itself, you can click and drag across a time period. That's what this first screenshot is depicting. When you release your mouse button, a booking form will open up, and that booking form is going to contain, that booking is going to have a start and an end date corresponding with the time period that you've clicked and dragged. Going back to our contextual menu, in the left-hand column here where you see those 3 dots, if you click on there, you can create a new booking, or you can duplicate the booking on the row that you've just selected. There are also multiple ways to edit existing bookings in the planner. You can either click on the booking in the planner itself, or you can use that same contextual menu. This is going to open the booking form where you can change the resource, project, dates, hours, or anything else that needs to be updated. Finally, the bulk actions. I know I got a little excited earlier when I was talking about this one, and hopefully you'll see why. You can select one or more bookings, then click on the bulk actions button to open a menu of options. I find this particularly useful when you need to mass update the start of a project, such as the plan is the same, we're just pushing back a week or some other reason that we need to delay, or when you need to replace a resource, such as when you're using generic resources for your planning and forecasting, but now you need to replace those generics with an actual person. You might recall we discussed the repeated bookings at the beginning. And I mentioned there are some other tools to help you manage and adjust those copies that you create when you're using the repeated bookings. Let's say you created a booking for a specific resource, project, and number of hours. Well, we can isolate those bookings using the settings in the booking planner or the advanced booking worksheet. In the booking planner, you can see we can easily change out resources on those bookings. We can change the booking type. We can amend the start and or end date of the bookings, or we can just move them in bulk a certain number of days. Additionally, in our advanced worksheet, we can just go in, view all of those bookings that we've created, and start changing the hours or make any other changes there that we need to. There's really no need to decide on a single booking feature in OpenAir. They all offer their own advantages, and it's just going to take a little bit of experimentation on your part to decide what combination of these tools is going to make your job easier and more efficient. Okay, we've been talking a lot about creating and managing bookings. My background before I was a consultant was in resource management. And I know better than anyone how easy it is to get bogged down in the details of resource management. When you're spending all day entering bookings, looking over staffing plans, moving dates around, etc. There's also the fact that we need to share this information with other people in the organization, many of whom don't have or need access to information at the individual booking level. The good news is that OpenAir offers several features to help with the big picture to help you quickly organize, analyze, and share your booking data. First, let's look at the dashboard reports. Often, the dashboard is the first thing people see when they log into OpenAir. So it's an excellent opportunity to share information. You can add saved reports to the dashboard, and while this is often used for financial information, it's also terrific for sharing staffing and utilization information. Dashboards may be shared with other users as well. And while it's certainly possible to share a report or schedule a report, having that user open up their OpenAir instance and see the dashboard right there in front of them is a lot quicker than forcing them to go and run a shared report or wait for that report to hit their inbox. Sticking with the dashboard, you can also create and share graphs. You'll start with the saved report and then select the type of graph you want. Note that the dashboard graphs do have some limitations, and you're going to need to experiment with different reports and graph styles to get the exact kind of graphical information you want in your dashboard graph. With practice, dashboard graphs can share important information in an easily digestible and visually appealing way. Okay, going back to the booking planner. If you look in the upper left-hand section of this screenshot, you'll see that I've highlighted a setting where there's the word resource next to the word client. Resource is big, it's dark colored, and it is underlined. This indicates that we've selected resource. Just like almost anywhere else in the OpenAir tool, when you see a word that is blue, that's a linkable view. So in this case, we've clicked on resource. So we're seeing everything in the planner from a resource down level. I've also highlighted the bar in the row corresponding to my user. When you're in the planner and you're looking at the resource level view, the row out next to your resource is going to indicate that resource's utilization for the time period that's being displayed in the planner. So you can very quickly and easily identify which users are over or underutilized for a particular time period. In this case, we can see that June is going to be a very, very busy time for this resource. So we might want to swap out resources, we might want to change some of the hours, or we might want to tell this person to just suck it up. Okay, sticking with the planner and sticking with that setting that we highlighted earlier, in this screenshot, we've actually clicked on client rather than resource. What this does is this gives us a client project level view of our resource planning within the planner. Simply put, we're getting a project level view of our staffing for this particular project. This is a great way to see your overall project staffing in one screen. You can use filters to isolate specific clients, projects, etc., so you're going to only see the information you care about. The booking chart. The booking chart seems to be misunderstood sometimes. Oftentimes I have clients who've expressed frustration with using the booking chart for managing bookings, but that's because the chart isn't the best tool for doing that. Where the booking chart excels is in displaying resource availability at a glance. In fact, it might be the best overall tool in OpenAir to just quickly see your utilization and availability for your resources on one screen. You can adjust the detail level to daily, weekly, or monthly. Then you select the duration or the number of periods that you want to see, and you select your start date. You can color code by booking type, availability, etc. And if you do want to get more information at the individual resource level, you can click on the drop down where you can create a booking, you can view the resource's calendar, or you can look at the bookings that are represented in the time period for that resource in your chart. Let's talk about quick views. First of all, if you haven't seen quick views or heard about them, you can enable quick views by going to the administration module, click on global settings, then under account, click on optional features. Once you're in your optional features menu, you'll be able to enable or disable various quick views for different modules and record types. Now, one thing that can be frustrating about managing bookings in OpenAir is that sometimes you're on a screen and you just want some information, and you don't really necessarily want to have to click off of that screen. Maybe you're in the middle of putting together a really complex staffing plan, and you're afraid if you move away, you might lose your momentum, but you just want to see what's this user's, I don't know, what's their utilization for this period. Let's get some quick information about this particular booking itself. Maybe I want to see the skills that are associated with a particular resource to make sure I'm selecting the right person for the bookings I'm creating. Whatever it is that you want to do, quick views can help you see that information quickly. Once enabled, you can hover over the data element. In the case of our first screenshot, we're looking at a booking quick view. where from the booking planner, we've simply moused over, not clicked, moused over a booking, and the section we see highlighted there is showing us the resource, their utilization for this particular booking. It's essentially giving us a lot of the information that we would otherwise have to click into the booking form to see. If we do want to click through, we can actually click on the client, we can click through to the project, or any of these other links that you see highlighted in blue. Now, if we've seen everything we want to see, and we just want to get back to what we were doing, we can either X out of the quick view, or we can just simply move our mouse away and allow it to go away on its own, and we're right back where we started. So much less annoying than having to click out into another screen and then come back to where you were starting. Finally, let's talk about reports. Now, TopStep can and has spent entire webinars discussing how to build a great report. However, today, instead of talking about how to build the perfect resource management report, I'm going to focus on a couple of common challenges that our clients run into with their own utilization or resource reports. First, what do you do when your report includes resources whose utilization should not be tracked during some, but not all, of the reporting time periods? Let me use an example. Let's say we have a resource who starts mid-June. However, maybe that resource is in a probationary period where we're not tracking their utilization quite yet. Maybe they started in a non-billable role, but then they're moving into a billable role at some point during the time period covered in our utilization report. Either way, normally their utilization would show up as a big fat 0 in your report, and that's going to negatively affect the number in the total column of your report. That's not really fair, nor is it accurate. Well, you can use something called a user entity tag. You might already be using entity tags for other purposes, but for our purpose, I'm going to talk about creating a user entity tag called include in utilization. Quite simply, our tag attribute is going to be either a positive or a negative. In this case, I selected Y or no. A couple of notes in creating these in setting these attributes on your user record. The default entity tag should always reflect the current state. So in our example here, our resource is currently in a billable position, so we want to track their utilization. So we're going to set the default value to Y. Now, the historical entity tag has to be present to account for that period of time when this resource was not having their utilization tracked. In our example, help me do my calendar math here. Yes, October 1st was the first day that we're tracking this resource's utilization. Therefore, the end date of the historical value of no is going to be the day prior, September 30th. Now, the start date here for this resource is 6/11/07. Quite frankly, your start date is arbitrary. It really just needs to be some point in the past that predates a period of time when this resource's utilization was being tracked. You can set it to 1/1/1901 if you want, whatever is going to fall safely outside a period of time you're normally going to be reporting on. Speaking of reporting, okay, now that we've configured the user, we can select the Include in Utilization filter in our report. So in this example, we only want to see resources whose Include in Utilization value equals Y. So as you can see in the screenshot, we've included that value in a row. We selected the filter, set it to yes, and we're going to say OK. Now, having done that, the report output is going to respect the date ranges that we set up in the entity tag settings for that user. To put it another way, our poor resource is not going to be arbitrarily dinged for poor utilization metrics when they shouldn't have even been measured in the first place. Another very common issue that comes up with utilization reports, and other reports, quite frankly, it has to do with shared reports and a user's filter set settings. So in our example, a report is shared with users whose filter sets don't let them see all of the data in the report, which causes inconsistency. For example, they may not have access to all users or all projects. However, for this report, since we're sharing it globally across our organization, we want every recipient of the report to see the same amount of data, same data set. We can use something called a report filter set. As you can see from the screenshot, we've selected all access here. Quite frankly, when you run this report, anyone who runs a report is going to effectively have the all access filter set. However, don't panic. This doesn't mean that this resource is the user is going to have all access to data anywhere else in your OpenAir system other than this specific saved report. If they go to create the same kind of report on their own, they're not going to have all access. If they click in any other module in the system, they're not going to have all access. It's very specific to this report. Okay, well, hopefully this